I could understand why the change nurse gave me such a strange look when I said I was going into room 14 to take a nap on my break. It wasn't unusual for us to occasionally roll a stretcher into one of the rooms to sleep for an hour or so during our break on a night shift. We work 12 hours straight and just take one long break in the middle of the night so we can actually get a decent nap in. I guess, if you want to, she said, her brow furrowed. Oh, Sharon, he's new. He doesn't know about it, Jody said, another nurse, very cryptically. Sharon, the change nurse, turned and looked at her. Ha, you're right. I guess nobody's told you yet, she said, turning back to me. What? What's the deal with room 14? Now I was curious. He was the only room on the floor that we had available. Everybody else was already sound asleep in their assigned sleeping cubbies. Conference rooms, storage rooms, you name it. We'd roll a stretcher in there and nap our brains out. Well, everybody who works here knows it's haunted, Sharon said. And I thought she was kidding, obviously. Serious people don't believe in ghosts. People like Sharon, who was as sensible as they come, definitely didn't believe in ghosts. Seriously. I chuckled. I didn't believe in ghosts at all. I knew everything that people claimed had some rational explanation. I had seen a documentary about it once. It was fascinating how people came up with things in their minds and would remember them later and elaborate on them, making them more fantastic, adding characters like ghosts to make them seem more exciting. All a bunch of pathological liars like the people who claim to be abducted by UFOs. So I thought. You guys believe in that stuff? They both looked at each other, sending psychic messages back and forth. I'd only been working there for a bit, so I hadn't developed that particular talent yet. Also, I didn't know the one thing all new nurses should know. Listen to the people who have been doing it longer than you. They almost always know better than you, especially when you're really new, which I was. I mean, if you don't believe us, you can go give it a shot. Guys, no, seriously, that's not okay, the voice in the corner chimed in. Lang, a guy who had also worked there for a while. You really should not sleep in there, Jason. It's not a good place to sleep. I usually trusted Lang, so I was a bit disappointed that he was joining in on this apparent prank on the newbie to the floor. Maybe they just wanted to sleep in there themselves, so they just were psyching me out, I thought. Okay, guys, I get it. I'm the new guy. But seriously, I think I'll be okay. I'm really not worried. Lang tried again to convince me, but I blew him off, thinking that he was taking the joke too far. Sharon and Jody had given up and were sitting there silently waiting to see what would happen. I laughed, self-consciously, and went to the cleaning supply room to grab some blankets, and I brought them into the room. It was a semi-private room with 2 beds. They were both clean, so I figured that I would just change the sheets when I was done, and forget about rearranging the room to pull in a stretcher. This would be easier, and I was dead tired. I turned off the lights and I lay down in bed closest to the door. The room was silent and dark. I let my mind drift off to sleep. I had a terrible dream. I dreamt that somebody was standing over me, watching me sleep. I knew exactly where I was, and I felt awake, but really I was still asleep. I tried to lift my arms, but I found they wouldn't move. I felt paralyzed, filled with dread as I tried to look up, but I couldn't. You can only see a dark, vague outline of something large and malevolent. I heard the thing speaking angrily, and it began to shout, but I couldn't understand its words. My heart began to race as I realized this thing wanted me out. I tried to stand up, but I found I couldn't. I began to panic and thrash around in the bed, and finally, mercifully, I woke up. I realized I'd been asleep and I'd dreamt the whole thing. The whole thing had been a product of my overworked, overstressed mind. But why, then, did I still feel such panic and utter dread? It felt as if I could die at any moment. The room was silent and dark for a few more moments, and then I heard someone clear their throat next to me in the pitch-black room. I felt a chill run down my spine and goosebumps spread across my entire body. The curtain beside me had been pulled apart while I was asleep, separating me from the bed next to me. I wanted to believe it was another nurse that had come in and closed the curtain so they could sleep in the other bed, but I knew that wasn't it. I could already tell something was wrong. I had to see. I pulled up my flashlight and looked beside me, terrified. And then I saw a hand. Gnarled and bleeding, green and black and rotten, pulled back the curtain from beside me. The face that stared back at me from the second bed was not human. It was something evil, something which had gotten in here, which was not supposed to be here at all. It was an abomination, a terrible, wrong thing in a place that should be meant for peace and healing. I screamed so loud I woke up the entire floor of sleeping patients. I ran from the room, falling over and bruising my hip badly in the process, getting tangled up in the laundry bin near the door. I fled and I left the hospital entirely, and I've never gotten back. I can't bear to be in the same building with that thing. Now that I know that it's there, I can never be in that hospital again. I could certainly never be a patient there. Patients would always tell us that they had trouble sleeping in that room. I would call the doctor and ask for some melatonin or some zerpaclone, maybe a lorazepam. I mean, only if it came right down to it. But now I understand the real reason why nobody can ever sleep in room 14.